Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is Chris and welcome back to another video. Now, before we do get into today's video, I want to say Happy New Year. Yes, this is going to be my first video of 2021, so I do want to take the opportunity to say Happy New Year, even though we're kind of like into the first week of Jan now. But Happy New Year nonetheless. I hope you had a good New Year, you know, if you're in the UK, with all things considered, but you know, stay safe and enjoy the new year. But now that we're into 2021, this time of year, you know, over that Christmas period, it is a great time of year to start to think about what you're planning to do for the year ahead, going into 2021. And I am no different. And so each and every year for the last, I want to say 3 or 4 years, I've been setting myself goals. Goals for the new year are things I want to achieve. And they could be things as simple as, you know, drink more water or, you know, exercise more often. But I've always tried to set myself goals. Some I've achieved, some I haven't, but I've always tried to achieve goals. And that is why in today's video, we're going to be talking about my 5 financial goals I'm going to set myself for 2021. Now, this is the first time I've actually set myself actual financial goals and actually taken the time to think about actually financially what goals do I want to set. And so in today's video, we're going to be talking about that. And if that's something you're interested in, then please stay around for today's video. But before we do get into it, please drop a like, please drop a comment and subscribe if you're new. We're a small channel out here and we're trying to grow. So every subscriber, every like, every comment really does help out the channel. But without further ado, let's get into my 2021 goals. So why is it important to have goals? Now, goals allow us to have a focus and things to work towards. And each year, I think it's always a good idea to have something to work towards, something where you can sort of work towards your dreams and aspirations. And that's why there's a difference between sort of macro goals and micro goals. So macro could be, you know, running your own business or, you know, escaping the 9 to 5 or traveling more or having a big house with kids and a family and setting up your own charity and giving back and, you know, all that kind of stuff that there's some sort of aspiration towards sort of those big macro goals that you look to achieve over sort of 5, 10, 15, 20 years. But what about those micro goals? What about those goals that you're setting yourself that you want to achieve each and every year that's working towards those bigger goals? Those small little things that maybe, you know, are big goals that you're trying to achieve, but each and every year you're just working sort of 10, 20%, even a couple of percent towards those bigger goals. And that's how I'm trying to structure my micro goals, making sure I'm setting goals that are achievable, that are measurable, that I can kind of make sure that at the end of the year I can go, yeah, I achieved this because I've done this. So that is why it's important to set goals. People, you know, it gives people a focus, gives you something to work towards and lets you know that you're working towards those bigger goals when you set goals each and every year. And so that's why it's important to set those goals, and that's why I'm setting financial goals as well. So I've got my side goals, you know, my overall goals, you know, one of them's to drink more water, for example. Small goal, but something that I'm working towards. But financial goals are ones that are obviously going to impact me financially, and so they're going to be the 5 that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So let's get into number 1. So, number 1 on the list, and arguably the biggest one, and isn't a sort of an everyday goal that you kind of can set yourself every year, like, you know, drinking water or exercising more. But the first financial goal and the first thing I'm going to be purchasing hopefully in 2021 is my first house, my first home. That is something that I've been working towards for the last couple of years, and there's been a goal, sort of a savings goal I'm working towards. But, you know, this year's hopefully the year we can kind of pull the trigger and purchase my first property, it's my first house. You know, there's a lot of, in the financial space, a lot of for and against about, you know, buying your own home versus renting your own home, and is a house a liability or an asset, and there's lots of back and forth about that. And really there's some good arguments for both sides. You can sort of say that an asset is something that should be giving you money and you're giving you a positive cash flow. A house doesn't technically do that, but you know, you can make your own decision based on the info that a lot of people are giving. You know, rent can obviously give you the opportunity to be flexible with the location you live and, you know, give you opportunity to travel and all that kind of stuff. But with all that research in mind, with all that in mind, buying my own home, my own house, my own place to live has been a goal of mine since I was probably about 12 or 13. It's something that I'm, you know, always thought about, always worked towards, and it's something that I want to achieve. You know, bearing all those things in mind, I'm not too fussed about living in a location for 5 or so years. I'm, you know, quite grounded, you know, quite settled in lots of ways. So buying a property is something that I really, you know, have worked towards and really want to achieve in 2021. So that's financial goal number 1. However, there are a couple of things that I'm going to do to be hopefully a bit smarter about the purchase. I'm not going to be buying a new build. I've done a lot of research into that. I feel like buying a new build, there are sort of several drawbacks and things that I personally don't agree with. You know, I don't personally like loaning money from the government to make up, you know, if you were going down the Help to Buy route, for example, or the fact that buying a new build, as soon as you move in, that it's now not new, so the value decreases, and you could have a scenario where you might have negative equity in the property. But don't take any of this as financial advice. Remember that this is just my own research, what I've learned, and based on all of that, I'm looking to buy a property that's a bit older, that maybe needs a little bit of work. So, you know, some odd carpets, some random colours on the walls, that maybe allows us to buy a property that's maybe slightly under price, under market, potentially, and that allows us to add value and make that property more valuable. And so that, you know, eventually if we do go to sell it, or even if we have a mortgage on that property, it's, you know, we're not negative equity in there, and we've added value into that property from the price that we bought it at. I'm also going to try and to utilise government schemes, so the Lifetime ISA. So if you don't know what the Lifetime ISA basically is, a type of ISA that you can pay into, and you can pay up into £4,000 per financial year. So April to April, you can put in up to £4,000, and the government will give you 25% on top of that. So £4,000, 25% is 1,000, so that'd be an extra £1,000. But you can only use that money towards the purchase of your first home. So you have to be a first-time buyer, or a retirement fund. I think it's like 59 years old. Then you can take that money out. Otherwise, if it's neither of those reasons, you can't take the money out without penalty. So it's actually kind of counterproductive to put your money in and then take it out for any of other reasons than those, and actually probably, you know, won't make you a profit or benefit you in any way. So really, I'm trying to use that for buying my own property, using the Lifetime ISA. So there's the kind of ways that I'm trying to be, you know, a bit smarter about it. But number 1 goal on my list is buying a property. So second on the list of financial goals for 2020 is to continue to grow my emergency fund to up to 6,000. So currently my emergency fund is not quite at 6,000, it's a few thousand below that. However, what I'm realising is obviously if I do buy a property, my expenses and my outgoings are going to increase naturally. You know, introduction of a mortgage and bills and things of that nature, which means that if the worst comes to worst, I lost my job, or, you know, I couldn't have any income coming in, it would mean my expenses would be a lot greater. And so it makes sense, and it's important that you realise that with your emergency fund. So, you know, even when you're building your emergency fund, you go, right, these are my current outgoings, this is what everything costs me, this is, you know, 3 to 6 months worth of that. Now, if your, you know, outgoings increase, then you've got to make sure that your emergency fund reflects that. So one of my goals into 2021 is to continue to grow my emergency fund, and so that I have, making sure that I still have, you know, at least 3 to 6 months worth of expenses covered within that fund. So, you know, if the worst comes to worst, something comes up, a big expense, or I lose my job, you know, whatever, I have a little bit of rainy day money there to protect me and to cover me for at least a few months, hopefully even 6 months. So that's the aim. So I'm aiming to kind of put a couple of hundred away each month just towards that emergency fund to get it around to about that £6,000 mark. I've done some calculations and worked out expenses, so the 6k is where we're going to work towards. So we're going to continue to grow that each and every month, and hopefully by the end of 2021 we'll be at 6k. So goal number 3 on the list of financial goals is to continue to invest. Now obviously over the last year I've got into investing, I've learned a lot about investing, I've started investing onto the stock market using Trading 212. If you do want to sign up, link down below. I get a free share, you get a free share, we all win. But anyway, after that shameless plug, I want to continue to invest. And so that is another goal on my list of financial goals, is to continue to invest into the markets. And I've worked out that I would like to have a ISA allowance, up to about £10,000. So I know that, obviously you get an allowance of 20k, and if you can fill that out each and every year, that is incredible. But I know through, saving for a house and my financial status at the moment, that that's just not possible. However, I can set myself smaller goals, and I can realise as long as I keep year on year growing my investment, growing my portfolio into a greater amount, then that is all I can ask of myself. So the goal is to kind of keep building that up and hopefully go from sort of 6k portfolio up to about 10k. Hopefully I've worked it out to be about £333 a month. I've got to continue to invest each and every month into the markets to hit that portfolio goal. Now that's very much achievable. Obviously, £333 is quite a lot of money, but at the moment I'm comfortably investing about £300 to £400 each month. Obviously, if the house comes along and priorities change, then I might not be able to invest quite as much. But if I can keep consistently to that £333, then I should hit my 10k goal of portfolio value by the end of the year. And that for me is amazing. To have 10k invested in the market would be insane. So that's the goal. I'm going to keep working towards it and investing each and every month, staying consistent and just carrying on as I was in 2020 into 2021. So that's goal number 3. So number 4 on the list for 2021 is getting a second source of income. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if I did lose my job, I've still got my emergency fund, right? But as I've spoke about in other videos, as most of you will know watching financial YouTube videos, that a second source of income is key. They say obviously if you lose your job, then you lose your main source of income. And so making sure that you have a second source of income is going to be really key for me moving into 2021. Obviously, I know I'm not going to be able to hopefully create a second source of income that matches my primary one. However, even if I can have a small one that kind of is introduced into 2021 that I can kind of rely on a little bit to cover some aspects of my life, or at least a way to fuel my investments, then that would be perfect. And there's obviously a few ways I could do that, but the main one that I'm hoping is through this YouTube channel. Obviously at the moment we're nowhere near that because we have to reach 1,000 subscribers and all that good stuff, but that's a goal of mine, is to create a second source of income. And why not? Can that be through YouTube videos? I enjoy making content, and it would be a great way of creating a second source of income. So that's goal number 4 on my list, is creating a second source of income. And for me, that it should be a priority and it's quite important. So that's goal number 4. And the 5th and final goal on this list for you today is growing my savings pot for buying my first ever investment property. Now, I know this, I put this 5th because I think this is going to be probably the most unlikely goal of the year. However, I put it in there just so I'm reminding myself that this is a financial goal that I do want to work towards. But basically, as I spoke in one of my previous videos, I see property as an investment portfolio or investment way, or a vehicle to invest in the future and to grow my wealth and all that kind of good stuff. So for me, I've got to make sure that I'm putting some sort of thought and time into growing that savings pot to invest into my first buy-to-let, or first property as it were. And obviously to do that, I need the capital to achieve that. And property is probably one of the investment types that does take a sort of a bigger, a more substantial percentage of money or of capital to get into property investing. And so with all that in mind, I've got to make sure that I'm at least working towards that and saving a little bit of money. I haven't put a goal against that. I haven't said I'm going to aim to earn this amount of much money, you know, year towards that. But what I have done is at least put it as a goal, is sort of saying that this is probably fifth on the list because it's probably the least priority. However, each and every month, if I can put a little bit away, a little bit of extra cash that I didn't need into that pot to just keep building it up, and hopefully over the next couple of years I get myself in a position where I could potentially buy that first property. So at the moment it's not buying one or even looking for one, it's continue to build my knowledge and just putting away a little bit of savings each and every month towards that, and hopefully eventually get myself into a position where, you know, I can invest into a property in some form. So that's goal number 5, and again, probably the least priority, but on that list. So hopefully that has given you sort of some insight into how I'm sort of thinking about how I'm gonna, you know, operate in 2021 and the financial goals I've set myself, and hopefully maybe spark some ideas in your minds about setting goals and why they're important, but also thinking about your own financial goals and how they might differ from your actual just general goals, or maybe they're, you know, very similar. But I think it's also really important that when you do set goals, that you bear in mind that not every goal is going to be achieved. I think that goes without saying. I've been setting goals for the last few years and I've never got ticked off every single goal off that list. And for me, that is okay. You know, if you work to sort of 30%, 50% of those, or prioritize the goals that really you want to do, you know, if you end up having a list of 8 goals and you achieve the top 3 goals, then you've achieved 3 goals more than someone who set no goals at all. So I think that's worth really bearing in mind, that even though, you know, you set yourself these goals, don't beat yourself up if you're not achieving them all by the end of the year or even next year. Even just setting the goals and working towards a few of those is really important, and even more so when you're talking about your financial goals. So hopefully that video has helped, hopefully it's given you some insight, and yeah, just bear that in mind when setting goals. But if you're still here and you're still watching today's video, then I really do appreciate you and taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Again, as always, if you can drop a like, leave a comment and subscribe if you're new. And as a shamelessly plugged at the beginning, if you do want to sign up to Trading 212, that is the app that I use to invest into my portfolio. That's where I've got £6,000 sitting of my money in a fund there. If you do want to sign up, there will be a link down below allowing you to sign up. If you click the link and deposit £1, I'll get a share, you'll get a share, and we're all winners. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time.